bad news if you're an Arch Manning bettor because you got to go all the way back to 2014 to find a Heisman preseason favorite that's actually won the award.
I'm not sold this is like back to old Alabama, 11-1, 10-2 this year.
North Carolina, where do we start? Belichick's girlfriend. What do we do with Carolina? What's going to happen?
You might get a little disagreement from me on Clemson being a surefire playoff team.
Roulette chip that I'm pretty high on is TCU, a team nobody's talking about.
I have so much money on Toledo's over, Brett, it makes me uncomfortable.
I want to throw out UTSA as a team that could make the playoff. Obviously, they are unranked.
Fair. UTSA is not going to playoffs. I don't know how to break it to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to us. Happy you're here. Bear Bets Podcast. We are recording this on Thursday, August 14th. For full disclosure, in case anything happens in camp over the next few days between now and when the podcast is dispersed and released. I am, of course, the Bear, and enough of me. You want to move on to three bigger and better and wiser individuals than me. Geoff Schwartz, Sammy P, who are here regularly, and of course the great Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews that we had on last year. He's a star now, one of the best, if not the best, college football preview magazines out there. Make sure you hop on his Twitter feed and download or purchase the hard copy, whatever it is, must reading for the college football hardo. So, but Brett, I'm just going to start right off the bat with you. It's been a while since the favorite won the Heisman Trophy, and Arch Manning is the favorite right off the bat here at a really short price based on just really name only. You got Klubnik and Nussmeier, the second and third choices in the Heisman race, right out of the gate, facing off each other in the Battle of Death Valley on Saturday night. It seems to me like this could potentially be a bit of a wide open market, kind of how it was last year when Travis Hunter cashed a nice big ticket for a lot of us at around 65-1.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for that great praise for Pick Six Previews, the magazine. Always love coming on here for our annual stop and a lot to break down. Starting with the Heisman, it's bad news if you're an Arch Manning bettor because you got to go all the way back to 2014 to find a Heisman preseason favorite that's actually won the award, all the way back to Marcus Mariota in 14. So bad news there. But from there, it's a wide open board. And when you look at this top 25 of Heisman candidates, 15 of them are first-time quarterbacks or transfer quarterbacks. So little unfamiliarity. I think who I like at the top there, I'll go with Cade Klubnik as the favorite. He's sitting there 9-1. What you have there is a very proven guy. 36 touchdowns last year. His whole receiver core is back. They're my number one ACC receiver group. And really a surefire playoff pick, too. They're going to be in that playoff. They're going to be a meaningful football in November, and that's kind of the recipe usually for a Heisman winner. So he enters as my favorite. I think he's worth the top spot there or near the top. If you're looking for the best overall player, Jeremiyah Smith is sitting there 12-1, and he broke onto the scene last year, broke all of Ohio State's freshman receiving records at a place known as wide receiver U. He already has that namesake, that national buzz. So looking at best overall player, I like him there as well.
Yeah, and if you're worried about another wide receiver, obviously Hunter was a wide receiver DB last year. If you're worried about the voters kind of going off the grid a little bit with the non-quarterback, non-running back, you could still get Jeremiyah Smith around plus 230, plus 250 to win the Bolitnikoff, which I think is a great bet. I know there are people out there that will make the case for Ryan Williams, but I think most people out there have the viewpoint that Brett has about Jeremiyah Smith being the best pure overall player in the country. And certainly you're not going to get any disagreement from me there, but you might get a little disagreement from me on Clemson being a surefire playoff team. But we've gotten into that discussion before, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, massive game. Opening night against LSU. If I'm looking further, you mentioned going down the board, looking a little bit. I bet Jeremiyah Love, the Notre Dame running back, at 45-1. I think he's on 40-1 now to win the Heisman. Still a good bet, just because I'm just trying to pick off a number on another player right out of the gate with the big matchup. If Notre Dame goes to Miami and wins, the Notre Dame quarterback, I don't think, is going to be a position where you're going to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think either of those guys are Heisman-like candidates. But Love, we saw the impact that he has on that Irish offense last year, most notably when he was hurt in the college football playoff. And they really missed his ability to make plays, whether it be against Penn State or Georgia or in the title game against Ohio State. So Love is someone that I think he could put up some big numbers here in that Notre Dame backfield. So I got him as a big long shot. I know, Sammy, you have a long shot as well that is no longer a long shot.
Yeah, Carson Beck at 37-1 is long gone, Brett, which we talked about on, I believe, our show, on the morning show. He was like 37-1 at FanDuel a couple of weeks ago, and that's in the 20s now. I just think their offense is so conducive to stats. And we know what Mario's done. He puts Justin Herbert in the top 10. Cam Ward becomes number 1. I think that offense is going to fly this year. And obviously we have concerns about Miami's defense, right?
I'm not sure we have concerns about as many concerns about Miami's defense as we did last year. You hear great things about Bain and his dietary program, and it looks great. Heatherman coming in from Minnesota and what they did in the portal. I think their defense, and Toure, the linebacker from Rutgers, I think their defense is going to be much, much improved.
I think it was 5 4-stars from the transfer portal coming into that secondary. You saw them get gashed at times last year in the pass game. They addressed that concern right there. Coordinator change, I like. Plus, they have a pair of 5-stars in the trenches that you're waiting. It's their second, their third year, waiting for them to emerge. If you're looking at a talent perspective, Miami's head and shoulders against the rest of the pack in this ACC, along with Clemson. So you're waiting for that talent to really convert on the field. I think it will. It's going to click this year for Miami on defense. So I agree with you on that, improving on that side of the ball.
But before we get into more specifics, how do you handicap the portal movement when you do your previews? You know, when you read your previews, some teams it's like entire secondary, entire linebacking core, 5 offensive linemen or 4 for Colorado, quarterback this, wide receiver that. How do you take that into equation when you come up with your power rankings?
Yeah, well, I'll say since I launched in 2012, it's completely different. I mean, think back then, we had the BCS, we had something called the Big East and the Pac-10, a very simpler time. But back then, it was really, you look at returning starters and recruiting, and then maybe a couple guys that went pro early. But now it's so much more complex. It's every position by position I got to dig through, look at where they came from, how they did at the prior school, what they were rated as recruits. That's why I put together what I call advanced rosters. I mean, you can't just do it too deep anymore. You got to dig in and look at, I color code it all. Were they a blue chip high school recruit? Were they rated a 4-star as a transfer? Were they all conference at the G5 level, FCS All-American? It's just so much. So I'd really try and dig in position by position, player by player, and give the reader what's important. I mean, you got to really parse through all this information and data. So that's the goal with the magazine. I think it's a readable format to learn about your team and all your opponents coming up.
Geoff, before we get to your Heisman pick, I just want to piggyback on what you asked Brett, because a lot of times you see a lot of these preview magazines, they want to be first to print, and they're kind of dated. That's one of the reasons why I love your book so much, because you're last to print. It's kind of opposite. And I think with the portal movement and transferring and seeing the spring, I think that gives you an advantage over a lot of the other publications out there, that you're getting the most updated information in the most concise form. You're talking to coaches and getting quotes and anecdotes throughout your previews. So, have you ever thought about that? Like, being last to print is kind of an advantage for you?
Yeah, it really has become that. Of course, the early movers get more pub with their all-conference teams. You see the schools tweeting out like the other magazines, all-conference teams. I'm a little late to that, but we're going to call it the Jake Retzloff test going forward, because all the magazines were out there in May and June, and they had him on their all-Big 12 team. They had BYU as a playoff contender, paragraphs written about him. But the day before I hit publish, I was able to get that news piece in there. Take him out of the book, really, and talk about Bear Bachmeier, their upcoming 4-star transfer from Stanford, who might start as a true freshman, their other candidates at quarterback, and then really downgrade them in the power ratings and in the Big 12 forecast. So, yeah, mid-July, it's a little bit later than the others, but I think that's a key 2 weeks for predictions. And it's still plenty of time to read through the book. You have, 6 weeks from publish till kickoff. So, yeah, I find it's a great advantage for me.
So, Brett, you have Illinois going, 11-1 or 12-0?
Oh man, well, we didn't talk overrated teams yet. I think the opposite. I'm really downgrading Illinois big time. I saw the coaches poll put them 12th, and the AP echoed that with a number 12
Ridiculous.
spot. Yeah, I gotta say, there's two parts to this. I think last year, excellent coaching job by Brett Bielema. You know what I mean? He grinded out 10 wins with that roster, a lot of close wins, one score wins over Rutgers, Nebraska, Purdue was close. But you got to cut it there. You got to look at the advanced stats package from last year. It did not look like a 10-win team at all. In my numbers, average offense, below average defense. They actually checked in number 35 in my game grader last year. So nowhere near a top 10. So when you project forward to 2025, I know they bring back a lot of the starters, but I think that roster has already peaked last year. So I see them more as a middle tier team, looking at 7-5 for their record, something like that. Nowhere near a playoff discussion for me. And I've got them outside the top 25, outside the top 30 this year. So that's my answer for overrated this year.
Yeah, I think it was Dean Oliver who, in one of his basketball analytics books, talked about like how the eyes see some things, but the stats and the analytics see everything. And you had another great note, another great little number in your write up on Illinois about like the adjusted opponent yardage differential, whatever it was. Like they were what, 45 of 68 Power Four teams. Like again, the numbers profile them to like a 7-5 type team. And I know Sammy and I and Geoff have been talking about Illinois as well. We're kind of with you there on Illinois being a little bit overrated.
On the numbers and what we're watching, and I try and do that too. And but you just can't ignore the stat profile that we saw last year. And again, one score wins over some of the worst Power Four teams. Purdue was probably the worst team I've ever graded in 14 years of doing Pick Six previews. And it took a wild 2-point conversion there, 50-49 to survive. So again, great coaching in close games. They survived. They got 10 wins. But looking forward, I just don't see it. I mean, you look at their two deep. They've only got 3 former 4-star prospects on their entire two deep. That's 3 out of 44. That's just not the kind of profile that's going to go make a playoff run or win a national title. So we'll see. Historically, Illinois has not followed up their breakthrough seasons with a sequel either. I mean, they have nice years here and there. They never go 2 in a row. So we'll see if they buck the trend, but I'm fading them big time.
A lot of people in the SEC look at the top of Georgia and Texas. You have Alabama, I believe, second. What do you like about that team? I'll just make the point that I'm going to make. I wrote an article for Fox Sports about Alabama. All Kalen DeBoer has done at every level he's been is win a ton of football games. I think we're premature to judge him based off of last season.
Yeah, well, look at last year. I mean, it's the all-time transition season. You're taking over for arguably the greatest coach of all time, definitely the greatest coach of this generation. So, okay, of course, you're going to have a little bit of a transition period. And here's what I like about Alabama. There's a lot, but first, the coordinator move. I think bringing back Ryan Grubb, who was his right-hand man, the mastermind behind that offense at Washington and at their other stops prior. I think that's huge. You're getting the full DeBoer experience this time around. I think getting to choose their quarterback is important too. Last year, they inherited the roster, and Jalen Milroe was a great athlete, made some awesome plays, but I don't know that he fit that scheme perfectly. So now you're picking out of 3 guys. Ty Simpson looks like the favorite. It looks like he has emerged as the starter, but they're picking their QB. But the last thing is this. The talent is still undeniable in Tuscaloosa. You look at the NFL draft, every year you're seeing 10, 12, 13 Bama picks. Last year, only 6. That's because they're all back in Tuscaloosa. A lot of mid to late round draft grades are back. And one more thing I put in the book, I have my 5-year high school rankings for recruiting, my transfer rankings, but then also a mock NFL draft for next year. I know it's early for mock NFL draft, but they're sitting there number 1 in the country in terms of 2026 draft with 15 projected draft picks. So the talent is out of control. I mean, it's undeniable. I've got them playing in the SEC title and pretty good value to win it. I see they're, I think 3-1 or 4-1 down there in the futures market to win the SEC value there. So I would keep an eye on Alabama.
Sammy, do you think that there is a little bit of a still, they're Alabama, they're going to bounce back from what they were, what happened last year, just because we saw it. Oh, by the way, yeah, they're still Alabama with the exception of one little small thing, and he's sitting on the College Game Day set right now. Like, they couldn't run the ball worth a lick last year outside of Milroe. Simpson's going to be a little bit of a statue. They don't have that dominant pass rusher, defensive end, outside linebacker like they've had in the past. Malachi Moore, who was the undisputed leader of that team, is gone. I think there might be a few more issues and underlying questions with this Alabama team than a lot of people are willing to admit. I mean, while I agree with Brett, like bringing Grubb back in should certainly help, and maybe some of the mid to late season disappearing act of Ryan Williams might have been on Jalen Milroe and his inability to pass. Maybe his confidence got down. I'm not sold. This is like back to old Alabama, 11-1, 10-2 this year.
We'll see. I mean, talent-wise, they have a top 5 roster, no doubt. The question, though, is a quarterback, because last year Milroe did not deliver, at least in my opinion. I thought he was very overrated, and I go back to that Alabama-Tennessee game. Oh, horrible football game for offense.
Then Oklahoma, too.
It was a slugfest. Talent-wise, though, apparently they're back to where they need to be. We'll see about Simpson. We'll see about the quarterback position. I have my doubts, but the talent is certainly there. Brett, I'm curious, is there a team that we're not talking about, maybe an unranked team that you think could crack the playoff?
You got to go through the Big 12. I mean, that's the storyline here, because now with an automatic bid from that conference, somebody's going to make it. Somebody's going to come out of that pack. And when you look at the AP preseason top 25, I find 3 teams that are unranked that I've got in my top 25 and are serious contenders in the conference. You're looking at Baylor, Utah, and TCU. None of them are ranked in the AP. I've got them all ranked. The elevator pitch for each one real quick. I mean, with Baylor, they caught fire midseason last year when they switched quarterbacks. They went with Sawyer Robertson, won 6 straight to close the regular season. Now they get everybody back. It's one of the highest returning production teams in the country. I like Robertson at quarterback, Bryson Washington, the running back, Coleman at receiver. A lot to like from Baylor. The question is on defense, if they can get it fixed. Dave Aranda, I mean, he's a defensive guru. It's about time they get that defense cleaned up. So they're a contender. Utah, different. Last year they went through the injury bug again at quarterback. They were down to their 5th string quarterback at some points. I think bringing in the entire New Mexico scheme, Jason Beck's offense, the quarterback, Devin Dampier, to pair along with what we know is going to be a solid defense, they could be the whole package. And then lastly, really a roulette chip that I'm pretty high on is TCU, a team nobody's talking about. Talking to head coach Sonny Dykes in the preseason, loves that receiver core. You know, everyone talks about they lose their top 2 receivers. They have a lot of talent still in that room. McAllister's back. They signed Jordan Dwyer from Idaho, a 4-star transfer, and then another round of blue chip high school recruits coming in. So, and it all starts with Josh Hoover. So I like TCU to surprise. So there's 3. I mean, there's 3 Big 12 teams that could win the league, and then you're talking playoff and top 10.
One thing that we wagered on our last episode was under 1.5 Big 12 teams to make the postseason. Even though you might like a lot of these teams, does it feel like there'll be 2 Big 12 teams that eat each other up and we get just one?
Exactly. So even though I'm high on a bunch of these teams outside the top 25, I don't see a team surviving, 12-0, 11-1. I think you're going to get a lot of 10-2s, a lot of 9-3s. And then, because remember, they are a 9-conference or a 9-league schedule. So they're going to beat each other up another round of games. So yeah, I'm going to go under 1.5. They're going to get their conference championship game winner, and that's it. Now I do think they have more top 25, top 40 teams than they're getting credit for, but I don't see any at-large bids from this conference.
And that's always the tough thing for a league like the Big 12, which they're 1 through 9, 10 or whatever is the gap in the power ratings is so minimal, whereas the gap between number 1 in the Big 10 and number 8 or 9 in the Big 10 is wider. So you're going to get a lot of 8-4 and 9-3 type teams in the Big 12. Can I interest anybody? Well, let me ask this question first. I think everybody is assuming the Big 10 title game is going to be some combination of Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. If someone outside of those 3 is going to reach the Big 10 championship game, who do you think might be? I'll open it up to anybody out there who has an opinion.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I'm looking at maybe USC, and it's controversial because a lot of times this is one of the teams that might disappoint you with preseason expectations over the years. But here's the deal. They were 7-5 last year, actually 7-6, 5 one-score losses. They were really close. And again, you can't rewrite history. They lost those games. But from a forward-looking projection look, I mean, they were closer and better than the record showed. So you got a second-year coordinator bonus with Danton Lynn. You got a second-year quarterback with Jaden Mayava. it still remains to be seen whether he's really a Lincoln Riley, surefire first rounder type quarterback. I don't think so, but the rest of the roster is packed with talent. They were one of the biggest spenders in that NIL market. Yep. You know how expensive it is to go get transfers nowadays, and they were the top spenders. So when you're looking at their profile, they were top 5 in my game grader last year in the Big Ten, top 5 high school recruiting, and top 5 transfer recruiting. So you've kind of got it all building there at USC. And I think that if you're looking for a dark horse, maybe they surprise and break into 10-2 territory and claim that 4th spot. So I'd give USC there.
That's the correct answer because we needed to wind Geoff Schwartz up.
That's not the correct answer. Can they block and tackle yet? Who knows? Even though
they did well. Anthony Lynn made a major impact on their defense last year.
It really helped Maryland on the road at the end there. Elijah Page, though, the left tackle is really good. He's a very good football player. Can I sell you on Nebraska? Year 3 rule, Raiola year 2. I like what we did last year. I think we have to remember it's hard to play quarterback as a true freshman. Just is. He played all season. A lot of growth from that. Hearing him talk at Big Ten Media Day, maybe I got a little bit too excited to hear him talk about like getting better at 2-minute drill in certain situations that I think is very self-aware for a young player. Can I sell Nebraska as that dark horse Big Ten team?
I agree with you because they put some key pieces around Raiola. You know what I mean? They went out and got 2 starters off of Power 4 teams on the offensive line, bringing Elijah Pritchett from Alabama and I think Spindler from Notre Dame, one of the top lines in the country. So there you got 2 better offensive linemen coming in there, 2 number 1 receivers coming in too. They took Dane Key from Kentucky and Isaiah Hunter from Cal. So you're looking at, I agree with you, a 2nd-year 5-star quarterback, putting some key pieces around him. And here's the another underlying storyline. They've been so bad at special teams the last 10 years, cost them so many close games. We know I call it the Frost advisory, the amount of 1-score losses they keep losing. They finally got a great special teams coach in here, Mike Eckler. He's been excellent at Tennessee, was good at all over the place over his career. So I think he's going to fix that. That might flip a couple 1-score games their direction. So I'm always cautious with Nebraska in the preseason because they always get that preseason hype. But I agree with you there. They're a contender.
North Carolina. Where do we start? You want to start with 70 new players, 40 new players in the portal, Belichick's girlfriend. What do we do with Carolina? What's going to happen?
Yeah, well, first off, I think it's more interesting high level. I think when you look at UNC, they've been called the sleeping giant of college football by several coaches. I know Bobby Bowden was big on that term. And finally, what this signals is the financial investment, that they are serious finally for football, trying to match what they have on the hardwoods. So by bringing in Belichick, all that investment that he demanded, I think they're all in on football. And maybe that signals long-term that they're trying to move up to that SEC, Big Ten, TV money deals. So big picture, it's fascinating. Short term, 2025, it's a total mystery. I mean, it's a total crapshoot. You have 70 new players. This is one of those teams where, to Geoff's point earlier in the show, I can write a rough draft in March, and then I have to throw the whole thing out in May because everybody transferred out and the whole roster looks different. So total mystery roster-wise. You're talking 9 starters transferred off that defense. Their top 7 offensive players are gone. They're going all in with Gio Lopez, who had a great stat year in the Sun Belt last year as a freshman, but how's that going to translate up to the ACC level? And he also missed spring ball. So a lot of concerns on this team. So I guess, in a team like UNC that's all hot takes, I don't really have a hot take. I think it's going to be, a 6-6, 7-5 type year, but really look towards 2026. That'll be the indicator because that'll be a whole year's worth, a whole cycle of recruiting for Belichick and his staff and, another year of development. But that procedure penalties are going to go away. They're going to be cleaner fundamentally. You're just going to get that from a Belichick team. That might be the difference in some 1-score games. But I don't have any hot take for you here on like a surprise playoff run or anything.
Yeah, it's such a battle of like handicapping and analysis that you have with UNC because you look at the schedule and they draw the treks of the ACC with Stanford, Cal, Wake, Virginia, and Syracuse should be down. They get UCF, who's going to be probably one of the worst teams in the Big 12. And you look at the schedule and you can really make Charlotte and Richmond in the non-conference, and you can make a case for them being could they go 8-4 and 9-3? And then you have to just think, okay, is the roster really that good? Which I'm not sure it is. It's funny. I was talking with someone yesterday who's pretty dialed into to North Carolina, and he's kind of a little bit insider there. And I asked him, this was on the air somewhere. I said, do you kind of think 8-4. If you sign up for 8-4 right now, would you take it? I couldn't even get it out of my mouth rather, before he said absolutely. So I don't know. I think that tends to lean me towards it. They may not be that great this year, and if they can have an 8-4 season, that is above and beyond anything that I would think that they could dream of. So I think they're probably more like Brett says, along that 6-6, 7-5 type range. You were mentioning before about an unranked team that could make the playoff. We haven't. I know your preview talks more about the Power Four teams. Every year it seems like we're talking about like who's the Group of Five team that's going to make it this year, and I want to throw out UTSA as a team that could make the playoff. Obviously, they are unranked, but they're one of those teams that I think they're 14-1 to make the playoff. They're in the American. You look at how they finished the year last year with Owen McCown, quarterback. The offense really took off. You look at the schedule this year. They get a majority of their tough games at home. They play Tulane at home. If they can hang with A&M in the opener, and they're like a 21-point dog, so we're not expecting them to go to Kyle Field to win, but A&M is lost at home as a big favorite at some point. Like, if they can just hang around there and be respectable there's a chance they're going to be favored in every game the rest of the year. Physically, like on the offensive line, like they resemble more of a Power Four team than a Group of Five team. Like they have a big physical running game. So I think UTSA is a team that if you're looking for someone unranked, not only unranked, but someone from the Group of Five to maybe crash that playoff, I think the old Roadrunners might be that team this year.
Another team that's getting some buzz is Toledo. This is maybe the favorite to win the MAC, and you'll see their opening game is against Kentucky. Sammy likes that pick. I can tell. They're only an underdog by 8 points. That line has shifted almost a touchdown. I mean, it is trending so heavy towards Toledo. People are catching on at what's happening at Kentucky. Really a big question mark of a program anymore. So maybe if Toledo goes out, wins that week 1 opener over an SEC team, that could vault them right to the top of the non-AQ picture. So, you look at Boise as the favorite, maybe a Toledo from the MAC. UTSA is a great pick there. I like the insight there. It's going to be a wide open race. I can't wait to watch it.
I have so much money on Toledo's over, Brett. It makes me uncomfortable. 8.5.
There we go. I knew you'd like that one.
Let's look big picture for a champion. I believe you have Penn State as that team. What about this year might be different than other years? We know they can win the games, and Bear said this last podcast. It's absolutely true, right? They're the most reliable team in the country. They win the games they should. They lose the games they should. What about this year is different about this Penn State team that gets them over the hurdle?
Yeah, well, Bear, you're right about that. When they're in the favorite spot the last 3 years, they're number 1 in the country against the spread. They cover 74% of the time as the favorite. And straight up over the last 3 years as the favorite, same deal, 34-2. So they take care of business. When they have that talent advantage, when they're the favorite, they take care of business. But the question is, can they get over the hump? Can they finally beat Ohio State? A couple of reasons I really like Penn State this year to do so. It's a very veteran team, similar to the mold that Michigan in 23 and Ohio State in 24. It's kind of the same pattern where come draft time, a lot of players came back to State College. Of course, you lose Abdul Carter, the number 3 overall pick, but pretty much everybody else is back. Let's start at quarterback with Drew Aller. I know everyone remembers his last pass of the season, but otherwise a pretty solid season in 2024. The running back pair, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, it's going to be almost a Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa in a way, because they're going to be competing for the all-time rushing championship of Penn State school history. So it's rare you see that on the same roster together in the same backfield. So 2 5-star guys there. The defense, again, every year they reload. Every year it's a top 5 defense. I like what they have there. Number 2 in mock NFL draft picks for 2026. And then the last note on this, which really put me over the top, is the brain power at coordinator. And I know that James Franklin has his detractors, but if you look at what he's got at coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, one of the best play schemers out there. He did it at Kansas. He's doing it again at Penn State. And then on defense, they went out and plucked Jim Knowles from Ohio State, the mastermind behind that defense. So love the coordinators, love a 5-star veteran quarterback, very veteran team across the board. And you're catching Ohio State and Oregon in somewhat of transition years. They're younger, albeit very talented. but still a younger teams there at Oregon and Ohio State. You catch Oregon in the whiteout early in the season. Going to be Dante Moore's big first test in the Big Ten. So I like Penn State to go win the conference this year. They're my pick.
Yeah, I think they certainly deserve to be the favorite. And again, we'll be talking about it come Ohio State game when they go to the shoe later in the season, and then come college football playoff time. I think the questions as to whether Drew Aller can stretch the field and find that game-breaking wide receiver finally that it appears that they've been lacking the last couple of years, that's going to be the difference in simply just being good enough to get to the Big Ten championship game, potentially winning, and accomplishing bigger and better things in State College this year.
Yeah, it all hinges on that receiver room, and they at least tried to address the problem. They went out, they signed Kyron Hudson from USC, the number one guy there, more of a possession type. They got a speed burner from the Sun Belt with Devontae Ross, and I know maybe it's hard to translate from the Sun Belt up to the Big Ten, but you can't fake foot speed. That guy is a really speedster there. And then Traber Pena, this was a post-spring addition. He was drawing some all-ACC consideration at Syracuse from the slot, so I like that there. Plus a couple top 50 former recruits. You're waiting for some of these to convert. Maybe a Caden Saunders steps up. Luke Reynolds at tight end was a 5-star. So you're waiting for that room to take off. Maybe that's why, they fed so much to Tyler Warren last year is because of their lack of playmakers. So yeah, if you're looking for the caveat there, it's the receiver room. But if they get that fixed, I don't see any holes in this roster.
So I have one more question. It's the question everybody's thinking, Brett, but nobody wants to ask it. What are we doing with Kent State's win total? 1.5.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to hit me with a Purdue 3.5. Yeah,
I have the over.
Way towards the bottom of the big board, but I'll defer to you on that one, Sammy P.
I think it's one of the worst power rated teams I've ever had, guys. It's really, the NIL stuff is really bad. They're trying to pick guys off the street, Bear, to play college football at Kent State.
Win one for Windhorst.
So we just do the under 1.5. Is it plus money under 1.5, or is it like what we should probably jump on that just to have something on Kent State so we could watch on the Wednesday night?
I think it is a small plus money. I'm not 100% certain on that. Sammy's right. They are one of the worst teams in the country. And apologize for the little spam risk.
I may have taken Purdue over 3.5 at like plus a big plus number because
you mentioned that.
I'm curious. I think Odom can, if he's got his own guys there. It's a big, it's a big ask. Obviously, he can coach. Last thing for me, one thing you've said throughout this interview, and I know you have in your book, you talk about all the time, is recruiting rankings. Right? I think people look at those and think they're not important. The recruiting service don't know what they're doing because someone has a 3-star that becomes really good. Talk about the importance of recruiting. You have it on each page for each team. You've talked about it today. How important is it for your team to have those good football players?
It's huge. Recruiting, and nowadays with the transfers, we'll call it the overall talent acquisition. It's really the backbone of a program. If you want to compete for national titles and conference titles, you have to have it. There's just no other way around it. And to the naysayers about recruiting rankings, can they miss on a prospect here and there? Sure. I mean, they'll remind you that J.J. Watt was a 2-star. You hear that all the time. But I think over over 25 signees in a class, over 5 classes worth of data, talking 85 scholarship athletes, they're more right than wrong. And I think especially in this internet era, that the services have gotten really well informed. There's so many 7-on-7 camps, so many regional scouts. This is not the 1980s anymore. I mean, we have eyes on all these prospects. So I think they're pretty accurate. They're pretty good in large sample sizes. So I include that in the book. I have the 5-year high school recruiting trend, the 2-year transfer portal trend too, for more of a narrow view on who they're bringing in from the portal. But I do say this also: it's the backbone, but it's just the starting point. You need to have player development. You have to have coaching schemes that work. You need to recruit to your schemes. And the new thing is this: it's player retention. I talk to head coaches and coordinators about this, and before they talk about recruiting new players, they say their number one concern is recruiting their own roster. It's like trying to keep everybody in the building in this new NIL and big money era. So it's everything. I mean, recruiting is the starting point, but you got to have everything: player development, schemes, retention, and then you got to go get it done on Saturdays. So I think it's a really important part of a program.
All right, I don't like the way that Geoff steered this conversation back to like something serious about like recruiting and player retention. I want to get back to something important, like Kent State. They open with Merrimack. Like you would assume should beat Merrimack.
It's a hockey school,
kind of, and they're pretty good in hoops too. They're not bad in hoops, but yeah,
like
definitely
pretty good is relative to
but like
their
you should
position.
beat Merrimack, right? You would think, like, boy, they're going to get absolutely beaten up after that. At Texas Tech, Buffalo is probably the second best team in the MAC. At Florida State, at Oklahoma, that is just they're going to be done like physically before they even get into the meat of their conference schedule. I guess the good thing is they get UMass and Bowling Green, who should be down, both those teams kind of down. They get them at home, but like that's not a home field advantage. I don't know. I think we might have to go under there, guys.
I'm fine with an under wager. I think it'd be fun for something. Yeah, it'd be something to root for while we're sitting in a hotel room, Sammy, Wednesday night in New York City, waiting to record. This will be we can go get some wings and watch Kent State play on a Wednesday night. Tuesday, or not.
Tuesday night, November 11th, Kent State at Akron. I mean, what's better than that?
Let's go, baby. Can't wait for that. By the way, we don't have a number on Kent State Merrimack yet, Bear. That's an added game. We'll get that on the 30th, early in the morning.
I was going to say that's coming Friday or Saturday, rather, around 11 a.m. Brett, can't thank you enough as always. Great stuff. Appreciate you hopping on with that. And if you haven't already out there, gotten your Pick Six preview, still a little bit of time left before the season starts to study up and make some wagers. So, Brett, appreciate you.
Thank you
for all you do.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. And I'd be remiss without shouting out Geoff's Oregon Ducks. They're my 2026 national champions. So if you can find me a number on next year's national title, get me something on that. Because I love what they're building up in Eugene for next year. But thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate your coverage all year. And we'll be in touch. I love talking with you guys.
All right, we're back. I want to thank Brett again. I do want to thank him for that last nugget, though, guys. By the way, Oregon 2026 national champions. I can wait one more season. Don't roll your eyes, Bear. You know what we're doing in Eugene. I'll take a championship in a couple. It doesn't have to be this year.
Stacking classes, stacking talent. I'm with you.
At some point,
kind of like what Mario's doing in Coral Gables. Stacking classes, stacking talent.
How great would it be for the pod and Sammy as well? Because Sammy is a low-key Miami fan as well. Like a Miami Oregon championship would just be the absolute best.
Well, that's what we should have had in 2001. Miami should have played Oregon in the Rose Bowl instead of Nebraska.
And we would have
had the same result, but that's neither here nor there.
Speaking about championships and playoffs, we're putting together our own college football playoff parlay. We sort of teased these. We've talked about them, what we've done. Again, you can do this on sports books, right? You throw a couple of them together, get a bigger payout. Bear, let's start with your college football playoff parlay for the year.
Yeah, you got to search around for books that allow you to do this. Not all of them allow you to do it, but when you find one that does, you can kind of create a little bit of an edge. Like last year, you could parlay Ohio State and Georgia both to make the playoff, and it was like a minus like 190 something or minus 200 or something like that on two teams that were going to be in the playoff. But this year, I don't think at least personally, I can't find a lot of those like big minuses that I feel 100% certain that they're going to be in the playoff. The only one that I do is Penn State because of the schedule, and I think they'll beat Oregon at home in September. And the remainder of their schedule, they probably only have the one losable game at Ohio State. So a two-loss Penn State is going to be in the playoff. But you can make a case for Texas, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. Like you could argue that they maybe would be a three-loss team and could be on the outside looking in. So the team I have the utmost confidence in, the safest bet of the year, is Penn State to make the playoff. I've already put 2,900 in my account to win 1,000 of them to make the playoff. But if you're looking for a little bit more bang for your buck, you don't want to lay out a big minus for 3-4 months. Penn State to make the playoff. Notre Dame to make the playoff, who I think outside of the two games early on against Miami and Texas A&M should be able to run the table. And obviously a 10-2 Notre Dame is going to be in the playoff. And odds are they potentially split at worst with Miami and A&M. So Notre Dame, Penn State, and then Miami, same deal. I think even if Miami were to lose that game against Notre Dame to start the year, they're pretty confident in Coral Gables right now. They think they are really close to being really good again this year. Deep at running back, experienced quarterback who's a little bit aggravated right now about all the kind of talk about how Georgia's going to be better off without him, and John Mateer being the best transfer quarterback. There's some good things going on in Coral Gables. So you want to get about plus 447, plus 450, depending on your math. Miami, Notre Dame, Penn State, three-team parlay to make the playoff.
We are symbiotic here, Bear. I hate to piggyback off of your bet, but I was trying to hook Penn State with basically anything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hook them with a dog like Miami, you jack that price up. So you take a favorite in Penn State, hook them with a dog. The Penn State-Miami parlay plays plus 251 at DraftKings. I'm not going to lie, though, guys. I've been hitting Penn State and then just checking other boxes to see what it pays. So I tinkered with Penn State USC, which is over 6-1. That might not be a bad idea either. I checked a little Penn State Tulane. But for the show, I'm going to go Penn State and the U to make the playoff.
Check a little Penn State UTSA for me there, Sammy.
I will do that and report back.
The USC thing, where did this come from? I don't understand. That they're going to be better than last year, which we think they're going to be better than last season. They should, right? They lost a bunch of close. They also won close games as well. We don't ever talk about that, by the way, just quickly. We always talk about teams that lose close games, but then don't talk about when they win by one score, which also happens as well. I think USC was 3-5 in that situation. So it's not like they went 0-5 and are going to flip over the other direction. We've talked
about that with Illinois, how they were the beneficiary of winning all those close games, and Texas Tech, how they were the beneficiary of winning those close games. I'm also, Sammy, someone has done the math here. Vol Sully has responded. He gets plus 1864 on a Penn State UTSA parlay. So you think UTSA alone is 14-1, so you can add another plus 400 or so to that for a team that's minus 300 on their own to make the playoffs. So interesting.
Bear, I hate to UTSA is not going to the playoffs. I don't know how to break it to you.
They probably aren't. They'll probably lose by 28 at Kyle Field in week 1, and then they'll probably lose a game during the year in the American. But I mean, look, UNLV is going to take a step back this year.
Yes.
Boise should take a step back this year. The representative for the college football playoff is coming from the American, from the group of 5. It's just pick your team.
A Penn State, Kent State parlay pays 391 to 1. 391.
I will tell you what. I will add 2 zeros to that, and I'll book that for you. All right.
I'll end with the simplest one of all. I've said this before. What I've done, Penn State and Oregon with their schedules and their talent, they're in, right? Clemson, I know Bear and I differ on this. I think Clemson's in the playoff. I think they're very talented. I know they're very talented, right? Offensively, they're getting to where they need to be. They have a bunch of returning production. I put Ohio State in there as well. Ohio State's the one that kind of worries me. I do think week 1, they have a chance to lose. I know people don't give Texas, I think, much of a chance. Even though the number.
Oh, yeah, people don't give Texas much of a chance. 3-point underdog. Well, Arch, man, people aren't giving them a chance to go there and win.
How many people are picking Texas to win that game right now?
I haven't heard a ton of predictions on the game. All I know is I played the under.
That's a fair play with brand new quarterbacks. I like that. I think Ohio State's losing a lot. I do worry about that because their schedule, right? So Texas, they're going to have to play Penn State at home, which we know Penn State doesn't ever win that game, and they got to beat Michigan, right? If they can't beat Michigan, they're not going to, they have a chance to miss the playoff. But I like Ohio State anyways in this, so I put all of them together. There we go. Plus 260-ish.
Chalk Geoff.
I'm in for the chalk.
I want to see Oregon be 9-1 going into the final couple of regular season games, and then lose to SC and lose to Washington, and just see distraught Geoff.
I feel like we're gonna beat USC.
I'm kidding. I don't know. I'm not hoping for that.
A rivalry game, though. Look, I've thought about that week 12 game or whatever, week 13, whatever it is. Like a rivalry game on the road to go to the playoff, man. That's that's a tough game. It doesn't matter how good Washington or is or isn't. So that worries me more than USC at home. I'm not worried about USC coming up to play a game in 32-degree weather. I'm not worried about that.
And again, if you can't necessarily throw these teams in with each other, you can cross-sport it with something else that you might like, whether it's a team to win World Series, team to make the playoffs in the NFL, division winner, team to win the WNBA title, team, whatever you like. Like I would be looking to link, like Sammy said, he was just kind of punching numbers and clicking boxes there to see what Penn State and whatever would pay. Like I think, like, if you're making an individual bet, like putting that in a little parlay with Penn State to make the playoff as a bit of a price boost, I think that's built in, and that's something that I have been doing all along. Like if I like something, I'm going to link it up with Penn State to make the playoff to kind of have two bets on it. But that's all we got for this week. It was a fun little exercise there. It was great to talk to our guy Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews. So appreciate everybody for tuning in on the YouTube channel. Remember to rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever else. We'll be back again next week, and I think next week we might even be in for a surprise. We might actually be in our new New York studio. So for Sammy, for Geoff, I'm Bear. Remember, less you bet, more you lose when you win.